So, unlike the previous administration, we actually have a vice president who cares about the border and what's going on down there. And so, JD Vance, the highest ranking Marine ever, and Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth all went down to the border, had a roundtable, which will be the first video that you see is him giving an opening statement there. Then you will see a question he answers at the border, and immediately after that's a answer that Tulsi Gabbard gives at the border, or a opening statement that's given by Tulsi Gabbard at the border. Yeah, it's so nice that we actually have an administration that actually cares about the safety of the American people, unlike our previous administration who sets up a border czar who doesn't even go to the border, and we get millions upon millions entering this country illegally and committing all kinds of nasty crimes. So, if you like these kinds of topics, hit like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff, and let's get into it.
Howdy, y'all. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. What we have here is a channel to communicate. I want you folks to be thinking by the time you leave my videos. Why? Because I'm tired of people talking via what other people tell them to think. So, watch my video and enjoy the chance to think for yourself.
Hey guys, good afternoon. Welcome back. See it. Yeah, thank you. Guys, how we doing? Good, General? Good. Here, let's sit down and chat for a little bit. Want to thank you all for being here. I know Governor Abbott's going to kick us off here, but before we send the press out and have a more private conversation, I just want to say, one, it's great to be here with the governor. We took the helicopter ride over here, and we saw a big chunk of border wall. And I said, is that the federal government's border wall? And they said, well, it was ordered during the first Trump administration, but Joe Biden wouldn't let us actually build it. Governor Abbott, of course, was the one who actually helped us put a lot of that stuff up. And, of course, that stopped the flow in a pretty profound way. We'll talk a little bit more at the press conference, but as you saw, the president said yesterday, I think it's maybe the most important part of his speech, is that we didn't need new laws to secure the border. We needed a new president, and thank God we have that. I've heard already from a number of the folks that I've talked to in Border Patrol that all we needed to do was empower these guys to do their job. Thank God they have done their job. We're thrilled that they've done it, and now we've seen, I think just in this area, border crossings go from about 1,500 a day to 30 a day. That's simply the President of the United States empowering these professionals to do what they do so well. So thanks to all of you for being here. I want to...
So, as you guys have been exemplifying for today, that border crossings are down. A lot of attention has been turned to the interior, since obviously there's been a lot of illegal immigrants. What is, in your opinion, the biggest obstacle to actually carrying out President Trump's mass deportations? Even though, yes, like apprehensions and arrests and deportations have gone up in his first month, but a lot of people are expecting a bigger capacity for deportation. So what's the biggest hurdle?
So let me say a few things about that. So first of all, Rome wasn't built in a day. And we have seen pretty significant increases in deportations and apprehensions and arrests. But we have to remember that President Biden gutted the entire immigration enforcement regime of this country. We are trying to rebuild so that we actually empower people to enforce the immigration laws of the American people. It is common sense. It's what the American people want us to do. There are a couple of other things that we're working on. And I don't want to get ahead of any public announcements, but one of the ways that we wanted to make sure that we're enforcing our border is that we make it easier for people who are here illegally to go back home of their own accord. We don't want to have to go around and arrest every person, but we will enforce the American people's immigration laws. If you're here illegally, the message from our administration is you should go back home, and if you want to come to the United States, apply through the proper channels. That's an important thing that we're doing. And the final thing is this costs money. One of the most important parts of the president's reconciliation priorities is, of course, tax reform on the one hand, and on the other hand, making sure that we get proper resources so that we can pay for the flights, and we can pay for the detention centers, and we can pay for all the components necessary to ensure that we're re-migrating illegal immigrants back to their country of origin. I guarantee it is a part of the president's priorities. We'll keep on working on it. We've made a lot of progress, but we're going to keep on working on it over the remainder of the president's term. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Vice President, I want to ask you about border wall and tariffs. But first on the border wall, how do you and the president...
Could you say your outlet, by the way, when you guys ask questions?
Yeah, Reagan Reese, Daily Caller.
Thank you.
How do you and the president define success this term with the border wall, and how much of the southern border wall needs to be walled off before Trump leaves office?
Well, look, I think the president's hope is that by the end of the term, we build the entire border wall. And of course, that's the physical structure of the border wall itself. But we even heard today, there are so many good technological tools, so many great artificial intelligence enabled technologies that allow us, for example, a camera, not a person, but a camera picks up somebody 2 miles away who's about to come across the southern border. Maybe it's livestock, right? Maybe it's a critter in the desert. Maybe it's a human being with a weapon on their back. We're using artificial intelligence to make us better at the job of border enforcement, but we've got to make sure that technology is deployed across the entire American southern border. We're going to do it as much as we can, as broadly as we can, because that's how we're going to protect the American people's security.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, for your leadership in bringing the country's attention to what has been happening here at the border and the significant change that has already occurred under the short time that President Trump has been in office. Really, what you're seeing here today and what you'll continue to see is a unified effort across President Trump's national security team, the Department of Homeland Security, towards our mission, which is to ensure a safe, free, and prosperous society for Americans. As Director of National Intelligence, there are a number of areas where we are focused. The President talked about in his speech, over 21 million people have come across our borders illegally under Joe Biden's administration. There are many of them that we don't know who they are. They have not been vetted. We don't know where they are. I'll give you one quick example of one of the problems that we are getting after. From Central Asia, there were over 4,000 people who came across our borders using an ISIS-affiliated network. Our National Counterterrorism Center went through and identified those individuals. There were hundreds of them who were either known terrorists or associated with known terrorists. That information was provided to the Biden administration. You may remember in some of the news, a little over 100 of those people were arrested in 2024. Of those who were arrested, only 8 were either deported or remained in custody. Only 8. The rest of them were released back into our country. Where are they? What are they doing? What may they be plotting? This is just the beginning. There are many, many areas that we need to stay very focused on, working with the Department of Homeland Security, working with the FBI to ensure that we're keeping the American people safe. Our Counterterrorism Center is working on making sure that we have that single source for vetting so that we can figure out who is actually in our country and identify those who pose a threat and get them removed. The president's designation of the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations falls directly into this, especially as we're seeing some of the tactics that these cartels are using reflect some of the tactics that we've seen used by Islamist terrorists in countries that many of us have served in overseas. Our mission is very clear. Our objective is to keep the American people safe. I'm grateful to be a part of this team that President Trump has assembled to accomplish that mission. Thank you.
I don't have to flap my jaws and all this. Y'all see what went on down there. You see the different things that are getting talked about. You see the level of competence, unlike the incompetence of our previous administration. You're going to have all kinds of people that are going to whine and moan, but you want to know what? The majority of Americans want to be safe. They don't want to have to walk their streets having to worry about that something's going to happen to them because we have a government that doesn't care about our safety. Well, guess what? It's now being taken care of by the administration. This is their biggest priority. You have seen it with every one of their actions. And it's about time. That's all I've got to say. I know that there are a lot of people, because you hear it, you see it, everything that you do, you see that people are feeling better about this. So I thought I'd just bring you these 3 quick clips so you could see that, hey, we've got a vice president that actually, even though he's not the border czar, he's actually doing his job instead of being whatever Harris was in the previous administration. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. So, folks, that's the story that I wanted to bring you on this video. And I just wanted to say thank you again for coming by. Hit like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff if you don't mind. Help me out. So, y'all have a good day now.